Let's discuss this further now with Jonathan Tonge. He's a professor of politics at the University of Liverpool. Professor, thank you so much for being with us on the program now. Before we get into what's ahead for Sunak, I want to talk a bit about Truss and the 40-some days she was in office and the problems with her administration, and arguably the mini budget plan was what brought her down.
Yeah, the mini budget was disastrous. It caused a run against sterling. The International Monetary Fund didn't like it. The domestic financial think tanks didn't like it. But Liz Truss made no apology for that on the steps of 10 Downing Street today. She said that in her view, she was right. And therefore, there was no mea culpa. It was simply, I was right, the market's got it wrong, and we need to concentrate upon building economic growth. So, that was a problem, of course, for Rishi Sunak coming into 10 Downing Street today, because he had to deal with that speech. And he said that mistakes were made by his predecessor and didn't pull any punches in highlighting those mistakes that were made by Liz Truss.
Right, he definitely had to dig at her during his speech for the first time as Prime Minister of the country. And a lot is expected from him, being the former finance minister of the UK, especially economically. The country's going through an economic crisis. With his experience, how quickly can we expect him to put pledges into effect to bring the country on the path to recovery?
He's seen as a safe pair of hands. And of course, his economic arguments were vindicated during the previous leadership contest over the summer within the Conservative Party, when everything that he warned Liz Truss about duly came to pass in terms of trying to initiate unfunded tax cuts. So it'll be a steady as you go approach from Rishi Sunak. He won't be launching hugely ambitious economic projects, and he'll try and reduce the budget deficit. But when you've got a fuel crisis, when you've got double-digit inflation, you've got a real problem. And I'm not sure that Rishi Sunak or any other Prime Minister can necessarily solve all Britain's economic problems easily. That, of course, creates huge problems for his party, because his party is trailing by more than 30 percentage points in the polls. And yet Rishi Sunak cannot offer the electorate many economic goodies in the run-up to the next general election that might get those people to support the Conservatives again.
Right, and we've seen 3 prime ministers now within the last 3 months or so in the UK, and this just shows how divided the Tories are. Do you think that Sunak will be able to bring the Tories back together and reunite them?
Yeah, I think for now, the Conservative civil war is over. I think Rishi Sunak will offer a couple of jobs to the Johnsonites within the party, but not many. But frankly, Boris Johnson's bid for leadership never really took off. So he's nowhere to go. The Conservatives know they cannot afford to change leader yet again before the next election. So for the sake of elections, at least, the Conservatives know they have to unite. I mean, the country has basically become a laughingstock because of the regularity of change the Prime Minister. I think for now, and sort of whisper it quietly, there may be at least a short period of tranquility within British politics. But that doesn't, alter the tough economic headwinds that Rishi Sunak is facing.
All right, Professor Jonathan Tonge, thank you so much for joining us here on the NewsHour and sharing that analysis with us.